I stood in our family living room, clutching my printed brand materials with sweaty palms. My heart hammered as I held up the mock-up to show Daniel. He glanced at it for exactly 2 seconds before bursting into loud, obnoxious laughter. The sound echoed off the walls, so piercing that Mom appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What's so funny?" she asked, smiling like she expected to join in. Daniel pointed at my papers, his face red with amusement. "She's showing me her business. Look at this. She thinks people will actually pay her for this little hustle." He laughed harder, doubling over. "This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen." "You're delusional." Froze. My throat closed up. The room tilted slightly. He pulled out his phone and aimed it at me, recording my shocked expression. "This is gold," he muttered, still laughing. "Daniel, stop," I whispered, but my voice came out broken. He smirked at the screen. "No one will ever take you seriously." That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. An unknown number. My fingers trembled as I silenced it. I couldn't answer, not now, not with him watching. "My name is Maya Torres. I'm 27 years old, and for the past year, I'd been building a freelance marketing and product sourcing business from scratch. I worked nights after my regular office job, researching suppliers, crafting pitches, cold emailing companies I barely dared to dream would respond. Our family wasn't short on achievers. My older brother, Daniel, worked at a prestigious consulting firm downtown. Everyone adored him. Mom bragged about his promotions at every family gathering. Dad clapped him on the back like he'd won Olympic gold. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the overlooked middle child who never quite shined bright enough. That morning, before Daniel's brutal mockery, I'd sent out the biggest pitch of my life. A procurement manager at a major logistics company had replied to my cold email weeks ago, asking for a formal proposal. I'd spent all night perfecting it, double-checking every number, every detail. Now, staring at my silenced phone, I wondered, could that missed call have been them? My stomach churned with equal parts hope and dread. I wanted to check, but Daniel still stood there, grinning, rewatching his video. I mumbled something about needing air and stumbled outside to my car. Once inside, I locked the doors and let myself shake. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I felt humiliated, exposed, small. Daniel's laughter replayed in my head like a broken record. Then my phone buzzed again, this time a notification from our family group chat. I opened it with dread pooling in my gut. There it was, Daniel's video. He'd posted it with the caption, "When your sister thinks she's an entrepreneur." Below, my aunts and uncles were already reacting with laughing emojis. My cousin wrote, "Ah, that's cute though." Cute. Like I was a child playing pretend. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of breaking me completely. I was about to toss my phone onto the passenger seat when it rang again. Another unknown number. This time I almost didn't answer. But something inside me, maybe desperation, maybe stubborn hope, made me swipe to accept. "Hello." My voice cracked. "Hi, is this Maya Torres?" A professional woman's voice asked. "Yes, speaking." I sat up straighter, wiping my eyes quickly. "This is Patricia Brennan from Apex Logistics. I'm calling about the proposal you submitted this morning. We're very impressed with your sourcing strategy and pricing structure." My heart stopped. Then it started racing so fast I felt dizzy. "Thank you," I managed to say. "I'm so glad to hear that." "Here's the situation," Patricia continued, her tone brisk but friendly. "We need a revised delivery quote by end of business today. Our original supplier just fell through, and we're in a bit of a bind. If you can turn this around quickly, we're ready to move forward with you." End of business. That was 4 hours away. "Absolutely," I said, trying to sound calm even though my hands were shaking again, this time with adrenaline. "I can have that to you within the hour." "Perfect. I'll send you the updated specs now. Looking forward to working with you, Maya." She hung up. I stared at my phone, stunned. Then I screamed, a raw, joyful sound that filled my car. I sprinted back inside, clutching my phone like a lifeline. Daniel was in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone and chuckling at something. He glanced up when I burst through the door. "Back already? Did your big meeting get cancelled?" he asked with a smirk. I ignored him and raced to my room, pulling up my supplier contacts. My fingers flew across the screen as I sent urgent messages to 3 different vendors, asking for updated quotes on the exact products Patricia needed. 2 responded immediately. The third, my most reliable contact, didn't reply. Panic fluttered in my chest. I needed all 3 to make the pricing work. From the hallway I heard Daniel's voice. "She's pretending to work now. This is hilarious." Mom laughed softly. Let her have her fun. Their words stung, but I pushed them aside. I had no time for feelings. One of my suppliers, Marcus, called me back within minutes. "I can do it, but I'll need confirmation by 3 o'clock, he said. I promised him I'd confirm. Then I waited, staring at my phone, willing my third supplier to respond. Nothing. My stomach twisted. Without them, the deal was at risk. I scrolled through my contacts desperately, and then I saw it. Vanessa Kim. We'd worked together 2 years ago on a small project, but things had ended awkwardly after a miscommunication about payment. We hadn't spoken since. But Vanessa specialized in exactly the type of product I needed. She was my only shot. I hesitated, thumb hovering over her name. What if she refused? What if she hung up on me? I closed my eyes and pressed call. The phone rang 3 times. I was about to give up when her voice came through. "Maya." "Vanessa, hi. I know it's been a while, and I know things ended weirdly between us, but I need your help." I spoke quickly, explaining the deal, the timeline, the stakes. There was a long pause. "You need proof I can handle volume?" I asked, sensing her hesitation. "Exactly," she said. "Send me your recent order history and client references. If it checks out, I'm in." I thanked her and hung up, then frantically opened my laptop to compile the documents. My hands were still shaking as I pulled up spreadsheets, order confirmations, and reference letters from smaller clients. Time was slipping away. I was halfway through organizing the files when Daniel barged into my room without knocking. "I'm taking your car," he announced casually, jingling my keys in his hand. I looked up, startled. "What?" "No, I need it. I have to meet a courier in less than an hour." He rolled his eyes. "You're not going anywhere important. I have a gym session with Kyle." "Daniel, give me my keys." "I'm serious." He laughed, that same mocking laugh from earlier. "You're being dramatic." He pocketed the keys and I jumped up and followed him. "Daniel, I need those keys right now." Mom appeared in the hallway. "What's all the yelling about?" "She's throwing a tantrum over car keys," Daniel said, shaking his head like I was a toddler having a meltdown. "Maya, you're always causing problems," Mom said, sighing. "Just let him use the car. You can wait an hour." An hour I didn't have. But neither of them cared. I stood there, fists clenched, and made a decision. For the first time in years, I didn't back down. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not waiting. I need my car, and I need it now." Daniel turned around, genuinely surprised. "Wow, look at you. Growing a spine." "Give me the keys," I repeated. He laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. "You're being dramatic over nothing." "It's not nothing. This is my work, and you have no right to sabotage it just because you think it's a joke." Mom frowned. "Maya, that's enough. You're embarrassing yourself." Tears pricked my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Fine. Keep the keys. I'll walk." I grabbed my bag, shoved my laptop inside, and headed for the door. Behind me, Daniel muttered something about me being too sensitive. Mom sighed, saying I was always so difficult. I didn't look back. I walked out the front door and started down the street, my heart pounding with anger and determination. The courier company was 2 miles away. I had 45 minutes. I ran the first mile, my bag bouncing painfully against my hip. By the time I reached the courier office, I was drenched in sweat and gasping for air. The clerk looked up, startled. "We're about to close for pickups." "Please," I panted, pulling out my phone. "I just need 2 minutes to email and print some documents. Please." He glanced at the clock, then at my desperate face. 2 minutes. That's it. I sent the email to Vanessa with my references, then printed the shipping labels Patricia needed. My hands shook as I handed everything to the clerk. "Done," I said, breathless. "Thank you so much." He nodded, scanning the packages. "You just made it." I walked outside and checked my phone. An email from Apex Logistics. "Can we schedule a video call in 1 hour to finalize details?" My stomach dropped. I looked like a disaster. Sweaty, disheveled, my hair a mess. But I didn't have time to go home and change. Have to make do. I spotted a small cafe across the street and headed inside. In the cafe bathroom, I stared at my reflection. My face was flushed, my shirt wrinkled, my hair falling out of its ponytail. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to fix myself up as best I could. "You can do this," I whispered to my reflection. "You've worked too hard to fall apart now." My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Mom says you're embarrassing yourself. Come home." I stared at the message, then blocked his number. I didn't need his negativity right now. Another text, this time from Dad. "Proud of you for standing up for yourself. Keep going." My throat tightened. Dad rarely said much, but when he did, it mattered. I took a deep breath, opened my laptop, and set up at a corner table. The video call link appeared in my email. I clicked it with trembling fingers. Patricia's face appeared on screen, along with 2 other executives. "Maya, thanks for joining us on short notice." "Of course," I said, forcing a confident smile. They started with questions, hard ones. "How quickly can you scale if we increase our order volume by 50%? One executive asked. I stumbled over my first answer, my mind going blank. But then I caught myself, took a breath, and explained my supplier network, my contingency plans, my quality control process. Patricia nodded, taking notes. "Impressive." The second executive leaned forward. "We're down to 2 vendors. You and 1 other. What sets you apart?" I thought of Daniel's laughter, Mom's dismissal, every person who'd ever doubted me. And I spoke from the heart. I treat every client like they're my only client. I don't cut corners. And I'll work around the clock to make sure you're satisfied. They exchanged glances. Patricia smiled. "We'll call you before end of day with our decision." The call ended. I closed my laptop and exhaled shakily. I'd done everything I could. Now I just had to wait. I walked home slowly, exhaustion settling into my bones. When I opened the front door, Daniel was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Oh, look who's back," he said mockingly. "How was your fake business meeting?" I ignored him and headed toward my room. "You know what's funny?" he called after me. "That video I took. I didn't just post it to the family chat. I put it on TikTok." Froze mid-step. "You what?" He grinned. "It's getting some decent views. People think you're hilarious." My stomach dropped. I pulled out my phone and searched his account. There it was, my humiliated face, his mocking laughter, and hundreds of comments. "She really thought," face with tears of joy. "This is sad. Delusional." My hands shook. My vision blurred. I felt like I was drowning. Then my phone rang. Apex Logistics. I ran to my room and locked the door. "Maya, it's Patricia. We have one last question before we finalize." I tried to steady my breathing. "Of course. Can you handle sourcing a specialized product variant? It's a bit outside your original proposal, but it's critical for our operations." My mind raced. I didn't have experience with that specific variant. But I knew someone who did. My distant cousin Leo, who worked in industrial supply. "Yes," I said. "I can make it happen." "Great. Send us a revised quote by tonight, and we'll move forward." I hung up and immediately called Leo. He answered on the third ring. Maya. It's been forever. Leo, I need your help. Badly. I explained everything in a rush. He didn't hesitate. Send me the specs. I'll walk you through it. Tears of relief spilled down my cheeks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Word must have spread through the family because within an hour, my phone buzzed with messages. Aunts asking if I was okay. Uncles wondering if I was stressed. Daniel had clearly stirred drama, painting me as obsessed and irrational. But then Dad texted. Ignore them. Keep pushing. It was exactly what I needed. By midnight, I'd sent the revised quote to Apex Logistics. My eyes burned from staring at the screen, but I triple-checked every number. I collapsed into bed, too exhausted to think. The next morning I woke to an email notification. My heart stopped. Quote approved. Please submit onboarding documents within 30 minutes to finalize. 30 minutes. I bolted upright, grabbed my laptop, and the screen stayed black. Dead battery. Whoa. No. I scrambled for my charger. It wasn't in my room. I'd left it in the living room yesterday. I ran downstairs. Daniel was eating cereal at the kitchen table. Where's my charger? I demanded. He shrugged. How should I know? I tore through the living room, flipping cushions, checking every outlet. Nothing. 25 minutes left. Panic clawed at my chest. I grabbed my bag and sprinted out. Our neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, was watering her garden. I ran up to her, breathless. Mrs. Callahan, please. Do you have a laptop charger I can borrow? Or a computer I can use? It's an emergency. She blinked, startled. Of course, dear. Come inside. She led me to her home office and handed me her laptop. Take your time. I logged into my email with shaking hands and uploaded the onboarding documents. Business license, tax ID, bank information. The upload bar crawled across the screen agonizingly slowly. 15 minutes. In. 5. The files sent. I collapsed back in the chair, gasping. Mrs. Callahan appeared with a glass of water. You look like you've been through a war. I feel like it, I admitted. My phone buzzed. An email from Apex Logistics. Documents received. Payment processing. I started crying. Mrs. Callahan patted my shoulder gently. Whatever you're working on, she said softly. I believe in you. An hour later, the payment landed in my account. I stared at the number on my phone screen, unable to believe it was real. It was enough to cover my expenses for months. Enough to move out. Enough to prove I wasn't delusional or embarrassing. I walked home in a daze, clutching my phone like a talisman. When I opened the front door, Daniel was standing in the hallway, holding his ringing phone with a confused expression. This call is for you, he said, extending it toward me. For me. I frowned. Who is it? I don't know. They asked for Maya Torres. I took the phone cautiously. Hello. Maya, this is Patricia from Apex Logistics. I tried your number but it went to voicemail, so I called your emergency contact, your brother. I wanted to personally congratulate you. Welcome to our vendor network. My breath caught. I glanced at Daniel, whose face had gone pale. Thank you so much, Patricia. I'm thrilled to be working with you. We'll send the full contract details tomorrow. Have a great evening. I hung up and handed the phone back to Daniel. Wait, he said slowly. That was real. I nodded, unable to stop the smile spreading across my face. You actually closed a deal. With Apex Logistics. His voice was thin, disbelieving. Yes. Mom appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. What's going on? Maya she just. Daniel trailed off, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Dad walked in next, a rare smile on his face. I heard. Well done, Maya. Mom blinked. Wait. This is real. You weren't just playing around. The word stung, but I lifted my chin. It was never playing around. This is my business. And it's succeeding. Mrs. Callahan appeared at the open door, returning my bag. You left this at my place, dear. She smiled at my parents. Your daughter is incredible. You should be very proud. Mom stammered something about always believing in me. Dad just nodded, his eyes shining. Daniel stood frozen, his earlier smugness completely gone. That evening, as the shock settled, Daniel approached me in the kitchen. Hey, Mia. That's really impressive. What you did. I glanced at him, wary. Thanks. So, if you ever need help with your business, I could, assist. I have experience with client relations and... No, I said firmly. He blinked. What? I appreciate the offer, but I need to grow this on my own. His jaw tightened. You're seriously turning me down. I'm seriously setting boundaries, I corrected. You didn't believe in me. You mocked me, recorded me, posted me online for laughs. I don't need that energy in my business. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. For once, he had nothing to say. Dad, who'd been listening from the doorway, nodded approvingly. I left Daniel standing there and headed to my room. My phone buzzed with another email from Apex Logistics. I opened it, my heart skipping. We'd like to discuss a potential long-term partnership. Are you available for a call next week? Smiled. This was just the beginning. Over the next week, everything changed. I signed the long-term contract with Apex Logistics. I moved into a small apartment across town. Modest but mine. For the first time in my life, I felt truly independent. Daniel's TikTok video took an unexpected turn. Someone found my LinkedIn profile and posted it in the comments, along with news articles about Apex's new vendor partnership. Suddenly, the comments shifted. Wait, she actually did it? This aged like milk. Respect to her for proving everyone wrong. Daniel deleted the video, but screenshots lived forever. He texted me once. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Some apologies don't deserve immediate forgiveness. Mom called, awkwardly trying to rebuild our relationship. I kept conversations short but polite. Forgiveness would take time. Dad visited my new apartment, beaming with pride. I always knew you had quiet discipline, he said. Daniel's loud, but you're steady. That's what wins in the end. Mrs. Callahan sent me flowers with a note. Never stop believing in yourself. And me. I kept working, kept growing, kept proving that underestimated people can rise. One afternoon, I sat in my new apartment, reviewing contracts and sipping coffee. Sunlight streamed through the window, warming my face. My phone buzzed. Another inquiry from a potential client who'd heard about my work. I smiled and answered the call, confident and calm. Daniel's laughter no longer haunted me. The family group chat no longer mattered. The viral video was just noise. Because I'd learned something powerful. Other people's doubts don't define your worth. Your work does. Your persistence does. Your refusal to quit does. I pulled up my business plan and started drafting expansion ideas. There was so much more I wanted to build. The girl who'd stood in that living room, humiliated and shaking, felt like a distant memory. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, unshakable. I turned mockery into motivation. I'd turned a side hustle into a real business. And I'd done it my way, on my terms with my own quiet strength. The phone rang again. Another opportunity. I answered with a smile. This is Maya Torres. How can I help you? A month later, I attended a small business networking event downtown. I almost didn't go. Imposter syndrome whispered that I didn't belong. But I forced myself to walk through those doors. Inside, I recognized a few faces from industry forums. One woman approached me, smiling warmly. Are you Maya Torres? From Apex Logistics. I nodded, still getting used to being recognized. I've heard amazing things about your work. We're looking for a sourcing consultant. Would you be interested in chatting? By the end of the night, I had 3 new leads and a stack of business cards. Walking to my car, I passed a billboard advertising a business podcast. On impulse, I took a photo and texted it to Dad. Maybe one day. He responded immediately. Definitely one day. I smiled, sliding into the driver's seat. The city lights twinkled around me, full of possibility. I'd stopped asking for permission to succeed. I'd stopped waiting for validation from people who didn't see my worth. I was building. Back at my apartment, I logged into my business account and stared at the numbers. Steady growth. Consistent clients. Repeat orders. It wasn't overnight success. It was the result of countless late nights, rejected pitches, moments of doubt I'd pushed through. My phone buzzed. A notification from TikTok. Someone had stitched Daniel's old video with a caption, "Never underestimate the quiet ones." The comments were full of support for me. I didn't need the vindication, but it felt good. I opened my journal and wrote, "Today, I'm proud of myself." Simple words, but they meant everything. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who shrank when Daniel laughed, who believed her family's dismissals, who almost gave up. She deserved to know she'd made it, that the pain was worth it, that she was stronger than she ever imagined. I closed the journal and looked out the window at the glowing skyline. Tomorrow I'd keep building, keep growing, keep proving that the underdog story doesn't end with humiliation. It ends with triumph. A few weeks later, Apex Logistics invited me to their annual vendor appreciation dinner. I wore a simple black dress and drove to the elegant venue, my stomach fluttering with nerves. Inside, I was greeted by Patricia, who introduced me to executives and other vendors. "Maya's one of our rising stars," she told them. "Her attention to detail is unmatched." I shook hands, exchanged cards, and tried not to feel overwhelmed. During dinner, Patricia stood and gave a speech, highlighting top vendors. My name was called. I walked to the front, heart pounding, and accepted a certificate of excellence. Applause filled the room. I glanced at the crowd and saw respect in their eyes. Not doubt, not mockery. Respect. That night, I drove home with a certificate on my passenger seat, replaying the moment. I'd gone from being laughed at in my family's living room to being honored in front of industry leaders. The journey had been brutal, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Daniel called me a few days later. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hey," he said quietly. "I saw your LinkedIn post about the vendor award." "Yeah," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I just wanted to say, I was wrong. About everything. You weren't delusional. You were brave." I was silent for a moment. "Thank you for saying that. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm genuinely proud of you." "I appreciate that," I said. "And maybe one day we can rebuild. But right now I need space." He accepted it without argument. "I understand. Take care, Maya." I hung up and stared at my phone. Healing wasn't linear. Forgiveness wasn't instant. But it was a start. Mom texted later. "Dinner this Sunday? I'd love to hear about your work." Agreed. Small steps. Dad sent a photo of the article Mrs. Callahan had framed, a local paper featuring my business. "She's showing everyone," he wrote. I laughed, warmth spreading through my chest. 6 months after that humiliating day in the living room, I stood in my thriving apartment, looking at my vision board. Every goal I'd written down was either achieved or in progress. My business had expanded. I'd hired 2 part-time assistants. Apex Logistics had referred me to 3 other major clients. But more than the success, I'd found something invaluable. Self-belief. I no longer needed external validation. I knew my worth. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find a delivery, flowers from Mrs. Callahan with a note. "Keep soaring." I placed them on my kitchen counter and smiled. My phone buzzed. Another opportunity. Another client. Another step forward. I answered the call with confidence. "This is Maya Torres. Let's talk." And just like that, the girl who'd been laughed at became the woman who laughed last. Not with bitterness, but with joy, strength, and unshakable pride.